Good morning and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. As we continue this week of looking at the history, heritage of music in the Bible, along with the types of instruments used in the Bible, I mentioned yesterday that worship in the temple used instruments and choirs, but worship in the synagogues and modern Jewish worship does not. I want to be clear, however, that doesn't mean there is no music. In fact, the musical styles used in Jewish worship were wide and varied. One type of worship music they used is called cantillation. This is what it is called when parts of the Bible are read during the service and parts are sung or chanted. Another style is called antiphony, and this is what we might normally call singing responsively. In Lutheran worship, each week one of the psalms is part of our worship, and in some cases a cantor sings one verse or part of a verse, and then the congregation sings the next part. That's a good example of antiphony. On a side note, many of the psalms are written to reflect this style of singing. While Hebrew poetry doesn't rhyme like our modern poetry does, they would sometimes rhyme ideas. When this happened, it was called synthetic parallelism, and the idea expressed is that the first half of the verse would be repeated with different words in the second half. This would work great for antiphonal singing, where the leader offers out the idea and the congregation then affirms it. A third type of music was hymn singing. These were performed by a soloist or by groups like a choir or by the whole congregation. Occasionally, the hymns would be sung by groups in a continuous melody so that there would be a continuous chant. Finally, there was orchestration, particularly in the temple. There were always at least 12 instruments and usually less than 36. Trumpets, however, were not used since they were for signaling only, and there was a special symbol for use in the temple that functioned for dramatic effect or to signal something special, much like a gong is used today. The first instrument we want to consider today is referred to as the pipe. This was some type of woodwind instrument, most likely similar to an oboe. They had a reed and were often used in celebrations, such as the one when King Solomon was enthroned and was followed in procession by people playing the pipes. And as 1 Kings 1 tells us, rejoicing with great joy, so that the earth was split by their noise. Our next instrument is the lyre. A lyre is an ancient stringed instrument with at least 7 or 8 strings. It was played to accompany singers and is mentioned many times in the Old Testament. A lyre was more portable and could be carried and used anywhere, something like a guitar can today. Probably the most notable player of the lyre was King David himself. You may remember that King Saul would sometimes fall into fits of depression, and apparently the young David was so accomplished at the lyre and sang so well along with it that he was called upon to play for Saul, to lift his spirits whenever the depression came on him. Many of the psalms are attributed to David, again pointing to his skill on the lyre. As we join in a variety of musical styles in our worship and praise of God, we are joining in with a rich heritage and tradition that comes to us from long ago. The gift of music comes from God. It's a gift that fills us with joy and touches our hearts. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.